On the brink of 2024, Sweden's bold leap into the NATO fold marked more than just a policy pivot. It heralded a revolution in European defense dynamics. With a history of military non-alignment stretching back to the Napoleonic Wars, Sweden's strategic about-face in the face of Putin's aggression underscores a significant shift in the balance of power in Northern Europe. Yet beyond the strategic maneuvers on the geopolitical chessboard, Sweden introduces a game-changer into NATO's arsenal, the Saab JAS 39 Gripen. This isn't just any fighter jet, it's a technological marvel, brimming with features set to redefine aerial combat dynamics. Key among these is its cutting-edge AESA radar, paired with sophisticated electronic warfare and countermeasure capabilities, all underpinned by the ability to evolve through software updates, and this is just the beginning. From its first flights challenging China's aerial might to its potential role in bolstering Ukraine against Putin's forces, the Gripen stands as a testament to Sweden's quiet yet formidable military prowess. How does this jet fit into NATO's strategic puzzle, and what could its inclusion mean for future conflicts? As we unravel Sweden's dramatic entrance into NATO and the Gripen's capabilities, let's dive into a story of technology, tactics, and the reshaping of military alliances, starting with the basics. The Gripen is an advanced fourth-generation fighter that was conceived in 1979, had its maiden flight in 1988, and entered service with the Swedish Air Force in 1996. It's a multi-role plane capable of carrying out air superiority and ground attack missions. It also has uses away from the skies over the battlefield. For example, the United Kingdom uses the Gripen as a training platform. The fighter was in demand enough that Hungary requested and got approval for 4 more Gripens to add to its air fleet in exchange for dropping its objections to Sweden's entry into NATO. Over 300 Gripens have been built as of 2023, and the aircraft is currently in service in 7 countries, ranging from Thailand to Brazil. But there's more. The Gripen doesn't just come in one flavor, it boasts an array of models, each with its own unique strengths. The basic specifications are a top speed of Mach 1.8, a maximum takeoff weight of 13 tons, a range of about 1,850 miles, and a combat radius of about 500 without external fuel tanks. It has a service ceiling of about 50,000 feet. The Gripen comes armed with a variety of missiles. For air-to-air missions, these include the short-range RB-74 missile, which is the Swedish version of the AIM-9 Sidewinder, and the Iris-T missile. For longer range, the Gripen comes with the RB-99 missile, which is an equivalent to the AIM-120 AMRAAM. The Gripen can also use the Beyond Visual Range Meteor missile against even longer range targets up to about 125 miles away. For attack missions, the Gripen can carry the RB-75 air-to-ground missile and various bombs like the GBU-12 laser-guided bomb, Mark 82 unguided bomb, GBU-39 small-diameter bomb, and DWS-39 anti-armor dispenser weapon. It can also carry the RBS-15F anti-ship missile. Just in case, the Gripen comes with a 27mm Mauser BK-27 cannon for dogfighting. The Gripen's standard configuration is a single-seat fighter, but the Gripen B is a twin-seat version for training and other specialized missions. The earlier versions were powered by a single engine, the Volvo Aero RM12 turbofan, but the modernized JAS 39E and F planes use the F414G, a derivative of General Electric's F414, which can provide 20% greater thrust. To carry more weapons, the Gripen E comes with 10 hardpoints. Its standard payload is to carry 2 visual range missiles and up to 7 beyond visual range missiles. It also comes with a new radar, replacing the previous Doppler PSO-5A radar of the previous versions. Instead, the new Gripens have an AESA radar, the Selex Galileo Raven ES-05, created by the Italian defense contractor Leonardo. This radar extends the fighter's range and situational awareness. The Gripen E also comes with an infrared search and track system. Saab claims that the Gripen E can use human-machine collaboration to allow the plane to be an extension of the pilot's mind as much as possible. The company also claims that the Gripen E has embedded AI capability through a future-orientated cockpit design, which features a wide-area display. The company says that this feature makes it easier for the pilot to make critical decisions. The WAD prevents the information in a user-friendly way, which supports the pilot's ability to select, launch, and guide weapons in perfect coordination with other members of a tactical air unit. The Gripen E's AESA radar is installed on a movable plate mounted on the aircraft's nose. This clever feature allows the Gripen pilot to concentrate the radar perpendicular to the direction of the plane, so it would not need to be flying in the direction of Russian airspace to get an understanding of what might be coming from the east. Such awareness means that Gripen pilots will have an information advantage, better equipping them to understand first and act first against an adversary. This information can be analyzed and shared with other assets, as Saab says the fighter has sensor fusion and cross-domain data gathering. These are qualities usually associated with the F-35, but Sweden has shown it can do some of the same things with the Gripen. The Gripen E's improved radar also comes with more advanced electronic warfare measures and countermeasures. The new avionics system was built for open architecture, allowing software updates to continually improve the plane. This feature is one of the reasons why Saab claims it no longer makes sense to count the generations of aircraft. According to this viewpoint, the Gripen blurs the line between 4th and 5th generation fighters. Indeed, it's arguable that the Gripen, especially in its E and later configurations, has better situational awareness than any other 4th generation fighter and is perhaps second only to America's 5th generation fighters, the F-22 and F-35. This feature makes the Gripen valuable to NATO as an intelligence platform, in addition to its capabilities as a fighter. Its movable radar also helps to make the Gripen E more survivable in combat, as it can launch its missiles and then turn perpendicular while still pointing its radar in the direction of the enemy to ensure a clean hit. The Gripen, even in its less advanced C and D versions, has an electronic warfare suite specifically designed to counter the radars on Russian fighters and SAM sites. The fighter's presence in NATO's air fleets therefore adds more preparedness and operational capability against the Russian aerospace forces and Russia's missile defense systems like the S-300 and S-400. The Gripen E can not only jam enemy radar, but mimic it. In this regard, it can act like a double agent, sending false information to the enemy. Because of its designed acclimation to Russian systems, the Gripen could prove particularly valuable in this capacity. But how does the Gripen shield itself in the thick of battle? The Gripen, especially the E version, has multiple ways to protect itself. There are of course the standard chaff and flares, but it goes far beyond those countermeasures. The Gripen E's radar mimicry includes the ability to fool enemy radars into thinking there are more friendly aircraft in the area than there really are, giving the Gripen virtual decoys to protect it from missile attacks. To protect it further, the Gripen can also carry towed decoys, little buddies. These decoys can also act as offensive assets by jamming enemy radars. Finally, the Gripen can launch bright cloud, self-contained capsules that continually attack enemy electronic systems and further protect the fighter against incoming missiles. The situational awareness provided by its AESA radar and other technologically advanced features are enhanced even more by the Gripen's ease of operation. This comes partially because of a computerized fly-by-wire flight control system to stabilize it in flight. In contrast, the F-16, its closest equivalent, is more maneuverable but less stable. In an interview with the Military Aviation History Channel, one Gripen pilot said that because the plane is so easy to fly, the operator has more time to make the appropriate decisions. Naturally, there are many items that demand a pilot's attention, so the less time the pilot needs to spend on operating the plane itself, the more time the pilot will have to analyze the situation and make these decisions. The Swedish pilot explained that when flying at altitude, the Gripen can be controlled with pedals beneath the feet. This feature frees the pilot's hands to pay attention to other matters. The Gripen can fly with ease at low altitudes. Pilots are allowed down to a range of 100 feet before they are considered to be flying tactically. The pilot also explained that the information on the screen display can be fed into the helmet, allowing the operator to lock onto targets by looking at them rather than looking down at the screen. This allows the Gripen pilot to engage multiple targets on a rapid basis. 4 targets at different locations can be engaged simultaneously in this way, with 10 priority targets tracked, but the Gripen's sensors can track many more total targets than this. The Gripen is not a stealth fighter, but because it uses composite materials through much of its airframe and has a delta wing design, it has a smaller radar cross-section than other 4th generation fighters like the F-16. Some reports suggest that it has a radar cross-section of about 1.5 square meters, which is truthfully not much more than the upper estimates of the supposedly 5th generation Russian Su-57 Felon. As one can guess from its payload, the Gripen has long been compliant with NATO standards, meaning that it has easy interoperability with the alliance's munitions, communications, and data networks. Saab is also in the process of adapting the Gripen E into Gripen Maritime, a carrier-based variant. Such a capability gives the first hint of the overall impact this fighter has on the NATO alliance. It will increase Russia's disadvantage even further in the Baltic. Sweden has no aircraft carriers in its navy, But now that it's in NATO, Gripen Maritime may soon be capable of landing on the carriers in the fleets of Allied navies. Because of the Gripen's speed and light weight, by comparison the F-35 has an empty weight of about 13 tons compared to the Gripen's weight of 7, it's an ideal fighter for quick reaction and dispersed missions, the latter of which has not been emphasized as much in NATO since the end of the Cold War, according to the Military Aviation History Channel. The Gripen has other advantages. It was designed to be cost-effective. While the Gripen E is expensive, at about $85 million per plane, the earlier C and D variants, which still make up the bulk of the world's supply, are significantly cheaper at about $30 million a pop, and even the E price is modest compared to other cutting-edge modern fighters. For example, various sources estimate France's Dassault Rafale to cost between $100 and $120 million each, and the cost of a Eurofighter Typhoon is about $125 million. The F-15EX, which is expected to be operational in the summer of this year, costs around $93.5 million each. Aside from the unit cost, the Gripen is cheap to operate. A study from Janes in 2012 estimated that the Swedish fighter cost about $4,700 per flight hour in that year's dollars to operate. Its closest competitor was the F-16 Block 4050, which cost about $7,000 per flight hour. In contrast, the Rafale came in at about $16,500 per flight hour and the Typhoon at $18,000. The low cost is one of the reasons why some Western analysts suggested sending the Gripen to Ukraine as well as the F-16. The Gripen comes with other benefits that could prove useful to the Ukrainian war effort and previews what it brings to NATO. Because the Gripen was designed to suit Swedish needs, it was built to operate in rugged conditions. These include a cold climate, tough bases, and being able to perform its mission with limited maintenance. A November 2022 report by Britain's Royal United Service Institute suggested that the Gripen was by far the best candidate for a Western fighter to send to Ukraine, over and above the F-16s that have gotten so many headlines. Of the currently available Western fighter aircraft that could possibly be supplied, the Swedish Saab Gripen CD offers by far the most suitable candidate in terms of operational requirements. It was designed from the outset for ease of maintenance and can be refueled, rearmed, and given basic maintenance by teams of just 6 ground crew using 2 vehicles on small air bases or highways in cold weather. Moreover, only one of each crew needs to be a highly trained maintainer, the rest can be conscripts or even troops. One of the things RUSI is referring to is the Gripen's onboard digital self-diagnostic system, which makes it easier for less experienced crews to maintain it in remote bases that do not have much infrastructure. RUSI also noted that American fighters like the F-16 need long, high-quality runways and much more extensive hangars and ground support to take off and operate. This infrastructure is naturally vulnerable to Russian missile and drone attacks. The Gripen, on the other hand, was designed to operate with shorter, more rugged and more dispersed runways, making them more difficult for Russian missiles and drones to target. These are some of the dispersed operations that NATO had neglected since the end of the Cold War, when the Russian nuclear threat seemed to ebb into the background. Because of the Gripen's skid-resistant landing gears and its ability to use its canards as an air brake by tilting them, it can land on runways only 600 meters long, or even on highways. This would give the Ukrainians many more options to fly the Gripen in comparison to the F-16, which will need more extensive crews to maintain and air bases that require heavy defending. Unfortunately for the Ukrainians, there have been far fewer Gripens built in comparison to the F-16, a few hundred as compared to thousands. As such, NATO countries are not in a good position to donate these planes to Ukraine. Even so, some momentum has recently developed for sending these aircraft to the Ukrainian Air Force. Ukrainian pilots have tested the Gripen, and Stockholm has made some hints about sending Gripen C and D aircraft to Ukraine. There had been delays during Sweden's complicated bid to join NATO, but now that this process has been completed, the possibility has been reopened. While Sweden has not made a decision on sending the Gripens to Ukraine, Saab said at the end of February that if it should get approval from Stockholm, it will be able to transfer the fighters fairly rapidly and is preparing to do so. Michael Fransson, the chief marketing officer of Saab, said, "There remains a big push coming from inside and outside of Sweden for us to send the Gripen to Ukraine, and we stand ready to provide these should a decision be reached by the government on this." The Gripen has never entered combat with an enemy plane, but a little-known exercise from November 2015 leaves a more direct clue about its potency against Russian fighter aircraft in particular. Over the course of 7 days, Thai Gripen C and D fighters easily defeated China's J-11 fighters in simulated combat. The Thais lost only 9 Gripens in exchange for 41 Chinese aircraft over a period of 4 days. The J-11 is a derivative of Russia's Su-27. The Gripen's advantage came because of its superior situational awareness in BVR combat. 88% of the Gripen's kills had been achieved at ranges in excess of 19 miles, while the J-11 only got 14% of its kills at such a range. At ranges over 31 miles, the Thai Gripens scored 10 kills, while the Chinese planes scored none. Chinese sources later confirmed the disadvantage their planes had been in. One of China's most seasoned pilots, Li Chunghua, also admitted that the Gripen's cross-section was significantly smaller than the Su-27 and its Chinese derivative, and that the Russian design could fire only one R-77 type missile at a time, in contrast to the Gripen's 4 AIM-120s. China's domestic J-10 type fighters performed better against the Gripen in subsequent years, but to make matters worse for the prospect of Russia in an air war with NATO, Li admitted that the Gripen E would have performed even better against the J-11. The tables turned once combat entered visual range, because the Gripen lacks thrust in comparison to the Russian design and were likely using outdated AIM-9L short-range missiles. This would be of little comfort for Russia in an air war over Europe though, because NATO's Gripens would be using the modern AIM-9X, and even in 2015, few of the engagements came at visual range. Because of improved radars, visual range fights would be even rarer now. The Gripen has similar experiences to prove itself over its fourth-generation peers in NATO as well. In 2006, Sweden participated in the United States Air Force's exercise Red Flag. This exercise is held several times a year in Nevada and Alaska and aims to simulate realistic air-to-air combat for American pilots and their international allies. On the first day, Sweden's Gripen scored 10 kills and no losses. In another Red Flag exercise, a single Gripen shot down 5 F-16s. Meanwhile, in NATO's Loyal Arrow exercise over the skies of Sweden in 2009, a single Gripen shot down 2 F-15 Eagles and forced a third to retreat. As the F-15 was the world's premier air superiority fighter until the arrival of the F-22 Raptor, and one which had never been shot down in combat, this was an even more notable feat. We will need to wait and see if the Gripen gets to replicate these results in its first real combat test in the mission it was designed for. Ukraine is certainly eager to try. Either way, now that NATO has the Gripen's home country in the alliance, these fighters can bring welcome new combat capabilities to the alliance's collective defense. They can be positioned in hard-to-reach areas in rough climates all throughout Europe, making them difficult for Russia to target. NATO therefore has more capabilities to patrol its increasing collective border and add to deterrence. The Gripen can gather intelligence and do all of the things that advanced fourth-generation fighters should do, for a much better price and more robust survivability. Sweden's entry into the alliance means that 100 more Gripen fighters have entered NATO's combined fleet overnight. With the Czech Republic and Hungary's Gripens, NATO now has over 128 Gripens in its arsenal. Sweden has long been an object of jokes in internet memes that poke fun of a supposed wimpy attitude, but the country's military was always quietly far more capable than these comedic jabs gave it credit for. For centuries, it's been wary of the threat coming from Russia, and the Gripen was designed specifically to meet such a threat. The vast enlargement of NATO's Gripen fleet with Sweden's entry brings its combined air fleet formidable new capabilities in the Baltic and on its eastern frontier, making Russia's disadvantage in the skies that much more acute. Putin had hoped that this invasion of Ukraine would prevent NATO from getting any stronger. Instead, it's now even stronger, in large part thanks to the capable and cost-effective Gripen the Russian aerospace forces now need to deal with in large numbers. Oops. But what do you think about Sweden's Gripen fighter and what it brings to NATO's overall capability? Don't forget to let us know in the comments. Now go and check out why F-16s in Ukraine will end the Russian Air Force, or click this other video instead. Also, make sure to hit the like button and subscribe to the channel for more military analysis from military experts.